Geekish Cast is a member of the Astro Panda Productions Network. Welcome back to Geekish Cast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and joining me today is Greg Wright. How you doing, Greg?
I am wonderful and grateful to be here, excited, ready to talk to you. Yay.
Fantastic. I'm actually really excited that you could be here. Just to give people a quick background on you, you are a Ph.D. in
American literature and film, so contemporary lit pop culture adaptation, that sort of thing.
Fantastic. So you're like an expert on pop culture then.
I like to think that
as much as possible.
Anyhow. Yeah. All it takes is just the right question to derail me, and I'll be like, "That's not really my area." You know?
How are you on old TV shows?
Not as good as old movies, but
Okay.
I could give it a whirl.
Do you know who played Mrs. Howell on Gilligan's Island?
Oh, not off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's
no.
Natalie something, but I can never remember what it was. But you are also you currently are teaching English and writing, yes?
Yes, correct. Yep.
And most recently, you have written, or at least the most recent one I know about, is the graphic novel based on the TV series Holliston.
Yes, I'm really excited about this. The season 1 and 2 have come out of Holliston, and season 3 comes out next year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not exactly like a bridge. It's a separate standalone thing, so even if you didn't know the show, you could still enjoy the book.
Right. In the book, let's get this out there real quick. It's called Holliston, Friendship is Tragic. Just so if anybody wants to go look for it, they have the title of it. And for those who haven't seen it, Holliston was and will be a TV series created by a horror film creator.
Yeah.
Correct so far?
So far, so good. Yep.
Yeah. So were you a fan of Holliston? I mean, how did this come about?
Yes. This is something that came about through the actions of the editor-in-chief at SourcePoint Press. His name's Travis McIntyre, and he approached Adam Green about maybe getting some of his properties developed into comics, because SourcePoint Press publishes a lot of horror, sci-fi, pulp. They publish prose. They also publish primarily comics. So they do a lot of comics. I've written some comics for them. And he said, I think that your sense of humor would be a good fit. And I'm like, yes, I would love to do this. This was a really exciting opportunity for me. And I feel like my personality type and sense of humor is close enough to Adam Green as both his character and the real creator himself, because he plays the character of Adam Green. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Although it was pretty intimidating writing a character called Adam Green, which is written and directed and performed by Adam Green, and not worry too much about stepping on his toes or, taking the character and trashing it or just making a misstep. It was a pretty intimidating thing, but once I got into it, it was a lot of fun to write.
Well, Adam comes off, he's kind of funny because I only know him through his work, but at times he can seem super serious, but he also seems to clown on himself a lot. So I imagine he'd be pretty forgiving in that situation. Did you find that to be pretty true?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was fully prepared. I'm like, each step of the way, I'm like, he could say no at any time and just say, you know what? I don't even want to do this. And I was trying to psych myself up for, I'm a very pessimistic person, so I was ready to not see any kind of silver lining in the whole process. And he had such great things to say and was very complimentary. And he writes this in the introduction to the book too, about how excited he was by this. And he was ready to trash it too. He admits it. He's like, I had my notebook out. I was ready to say about all the things that were wrong, but he just eventually put his notebook down and just started reading it for fun and enjoying it. And I'm like, that's high praise indeed. And it was really exciting because he did eventually have some notes, and it was all just stuff like, hey, here's an extra joke for you. I'm like, that's great, let's do it. And nothing that was like, you know what, we got to scrap the second half or something like that. It was all very gracious, wonderful, professional, polished stuff that made me happy to be alive.
No, that's outstanding. And in preparing for this, obviously, I bought the comic and read it. It seems to me, oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm encouraging other people to do the same, and I'll definitely beat that up a few points in here and on the blog post that goes with this episode. But you did seem to get the feel of the show. I mean, you got to do some things that they can't do in the show because of its budget. Like you could actually take them to places that, you know, they didn't need to build. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Did you like getting to play with things on a larger scale than would normally be allowable in Holliston?
Oh yeah, it was fun to be able to break the rules about what you can even do in a sitcom, to say like, look, let's have giant monsters and UFOs, and I mean, because it literally has no impact on the budget at all. To say, Steve Shar and Josh Werner were the artists on this. Steve did the pencils and inks, and Josh did the colors and letters. And, they just went to town and just went nuts with it. And it makes no difference on the page whether they've got dinosaurs on there and zombies or, they can even destroy the parts of the town of Holliston itself. I'm like, that was so much fun to be able to break the rules and to, bust it out of the limitations that you might have in a sitcom where you have to have things be found on a set and have a budget for them and everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, as a fan of the show, I'm sure the one time they did something with UFOs or monsters, they actually went and animated with it as well.
Yeah. And occasionally they did break with form also in the the found footage episode and things like that.
Which I think is, what was the Holliston Hobgoblin, I think is one of the greatest pieces of satire of a film style I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun because, it breaks them out of what you're used to seeing them do, and also it's like they revisited all of the tropes, and it's funny and a lot of fun, and also kind of got you to see a little bit of Holliston itself in a different way. I'm like, that was such a cool, fun episode.
Yeah, that's one. If I were to show somebody one for the first time, that would be the one I'd go to. I mean, yeah.
Well, it's like the exception too. So it's I'm a big fan. I wouldn't know where I would point people. I love the recurring running gags and the motifs and things like that. Also, I'm a really big fan of the suicidal Kane Hodder arc.
That is so good too. That really is.
Or Tony Todd just crashing on their couch and not leaving. Just this unwelcome guest who just hangs out there like
between me and my wife. There's actually still a gag about not saying Candyman because I don't want a freeloader in the house.
Right. Yeah, it's so much fun, and I love too that there's all these little Easter eggs in the show, and then we could put little Easter eggs in the comic as well. Of here's just like little pop culture and movie and sci-fi and horror references for people that when they catch them, they're just like, oh, I get what you're doing with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun to be able to kind of weave in all the stuff that you think is cool and then find out other people really respond to that and it resonates with them and they're like, yeah, this is cool. I dig it too.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of a big thing in fandom now is we will sit and pore over something looking for Easter eggs all day given the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I think that's fun. It's like a Where's Waldo of secret messages and codes and things like that.
Exactly.
Like, wait a minute, what's this code? Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah.
Like, have you been watching Westworld at all?
I have not. I don't have HBO.
Okay. So there was an episode where a guy walks by a window and on the other side of it was what probably was a robot or a mannequin, but it was wearing something very similar to the Yul Brynner outfit from the movie.
Okay.
So you just kind of go like, oh, I see. So a little head nod there. Okay, I got what you're doing. Yeah.
I love that kind of thing. And I mean, the one that I think of as being like the biggest kind of payoff like that is when, in Predator 2 where they go onto the ship and you see the xenomorph skull from the Aliens franchise, and it's like, this is just like a little Easter egg thing, and then it spawned all of these comics and 2 movies, and well, who knows, maybe more than 2 movies, who knows. And it's just like, here's just like a little throwaway gag that everybody just like obsessed over until it actually became real.
Oh yeah, or in Freddy versus Jason having the Necronomicon Ex Mortis in there, yeah.
Or even before Freddy versus Jason, when Jason goes to hell and then like the Freddy's glove, his glove with the knives on it comes out of the ground and pulls the hockey mask under, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Freddy versus Jason!" And that kind of made Freddy versus Jason as well.
Well, that was the plan for the next movie. They just didn't get to it for 25 years or something. So were you in your background? I mean, obviously you're a genre guy. Are you more a horror guy, sci-fi? What's your thing? And what are you really into?
I'm all over the map, and I'll say different stuff. I mean, I love, even going back to classics like the Marx Brothers, or you mentioned the Three Stooges before. I'm a fan of lots and lots of stuff. If I were to say one sort of genre within horror that's probably my favorite, I mean, I like slashers, I like zombie movies, I like sci-fi stuff, alien invasions, but my heart really has always belonged to like the Universal Studios classic monsters. And, you're talking about the Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, the Invisible Man, all of those things. And I riff on those in my earlier comic book series, which is called Monstrous, also from Source Point Press.
Oh, okay.
Can I make a little plug for that, too?
Oh, please do. Actually, here's the thing, Greg. I usually try to go through and check up on my guests, like everything I can get a hold of their stuff, even if they're Canadian and I have to break laws to get their stuff over here for me to look at. You and I have met at a point where I had a lot of behind-the-scenes difficulties and personal stuff happening and professional stuff happening, and just haven't had the time to really dig into your back catalog. And I apologize for that, because otherwise I really would have torn into it, because I like to be able to do that. So if you have a past project, or if you want to talk about all of them, please just lay it on us. More than happy to hear about it.
I will. And may God have mercy on us all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 issues of a series with Source Point Press called Monstrous that is set in Frankenstein's Europe, and it's basically like the Wild West, except instead of cowboys and Indians, it's monsters versus robots.
Okay.
And, the good guys are not all that good, the bad guys are not all that bad, everybody's a little bit monstrous.
Okay.
The first 4 issues are all standalone stories, so people can buy them and read them in any order. And they've recently been collected into a trade paperback of those first 4 issues. And my artist is Ken Lamouve. He's from Las Vegas, and he's working on the next 4, which are going to tie all those things together in a single 4-issue arc. And it's a lot of fun. You've got, renegade robots. You've got monsters getting summoned from all over the place. It's a lot of humor. It's a lot of action, and it's also, in addition to riffing on the classic monsters, it's also riffing on like westerns. It's sort of like I said, it's like the new Wild West. So the plots are all kind of riffing on old John Wayne movies, like True Grit and Real
Sure, yeah.
Which sounds like a heady, weird, unusual mix, but people really respond to this, and it's really exciting stuff.
Now, I love crossover stuff like that. I always find it really interesting.
Some people like the steampunk side of it. Some people are like, oh, I love that, Igor's doing tech support on Brains in Jars. There's all kinds of different things that pay off for people.
Yeah. I love that kind of stuff, because it really gives you a chance to stretch your muscles creatively when you can just go like, this is a completely original universe from this point forward. I can do pretty much anything.
It's kind of like Sin City, in that the main character is really the setting of this weird and wild world. Because if you think about it, Dr. Frankenstein makes a monster, and then that would change the whole entire world. Mm-hmm. And what if all these other monsters were sort of an offshoot from that starting point? And also it's just an excuse to have crazy, weird things happening, fighting a voodoo priestess with an army of zombies. Why not? Just have that going on in the Bavarian Alps and stuff like that.
Sounds totally sensible to me.
I mean, if you can do it, why would you not?
Exactly, yeah. That's one of the things that always troubled me about Star Trek: The Next Generation. If you have data and can figure out how to build more data, why would human beings need to do anything dangerous ever again?
Right, yeah. I that's always sort of bothered me, too, where it's like, I know that they try to cover this, but like in Aladdin, why not just wish for more wishes, or, things like that, where... that's the other thing is that, I'm sorry, I missed that part, but, after Frankenstein makes his monster, he loses control, so he builds these steam-powered robots to try to control things, so they're on the side of law and order, and the monsters are on the side of sort of refugees and criminal underclass, and they clash, and you run into some of those issues of like, well, we'll just have robots be our police force, except that then that makes its own set of problems, and, weird hiccups, and, like I said, the blurring of the lines between what good is and what evil is, and you wind up kind of empathizing with different sides of this clash all over Europe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with robotic law enforcement?
Yeah, right? Also, the funny thing I found in my research for this is that predating Mary Shelley's novel about Frankenstein, there was a French novel where there was a different Dr. Frankenstein, and he was actually building automatons. He was building robots, and that she sort of stole that name and stole the basic idea, but had it be a monster made out of cobbled together with corpses and things like that.
A flesh golem.
Yeah. I'm just so glad you said flesh golem. That made my day.
Well, I think it's it's the only description I've ever heard that really worked.
Yeah. Although it evokes all kinds of weird Urban Dictionary things in my brain at the same time.
I would think there's a penis joke or two in there somewhere, yeah.
I feel like that, and this is all, pun intended, right? There's probably a penis joke in every one of us.
Well, when you put it like that, I guess there really is. Oh, good times. So, how does somebody with an academic background like yours get into writing comic books?
Oh, that's a good question, Jeremy. And I don't know. I was dropped on my head as a child.
That covers it.
No, I come from a background where I taught at Kalamazoo College for a number of years, and I taught screenwriting there. And so I have a screenwriting background, and the problem with screenwriting is that it's relentlessly hard to get anything accomplished. So I'm like, I have this skill set that I'm excited about, and I have ideas that I think would work. Why don't I try doing this in the comics medium? And it's still hard work. It's still a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you have to collaborate and all of those things. But you can get a much more immediate sense of payoff than you could with a movie, which, a lot of screenwriters, you'd have never even seen their work because it never gets off the ground, even successful ones.
Mm-hmm.
Even people who are doing this for a living, you rarely see the fruits of their labor, and so do they. And I really like that I can write a comic book script and work with somebody and be able to have a product that you can hold at the end in your hands at the end of the day. That doesn't mean that every project works. There's certainly a number of things that have fallen through, but I love to be able to say, like, look, I've done this. It can't be undone afterwards, or lose momentum or lose steam or something like that.
Right. Well, and it's funny to me. You are the second academic I've met this year who has written a comic book or comic books. It's actually the guy who put me in touch with SourcePoint to talk to you, Andrea Molinari, who created a series with his son. He teaches early Christian history.
Yes. No, I know him, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm just always amazed by the people I meet who are doing these comic books now. Like, I know another guy. First off, let me just say, this is the greatest concept for a comic book I've ever stumbled across. It is Bigfoot on Mars as like a John Carter style character. It's called called Bigfoot, Sword of the Earth Man. What it is, the guy works in financial services in Los Angeles. Had an idea for a movie, then he thought, no, this would make a better comic book. So he went and took all the local classes on writing a comic book and then put his money into it and got it made.
Nice.
So nice. It's one of those things that when I meet some people and just the different walks of life that comic book creators I am meeting now are coming from, I am inspired and amazed by almost each and every one of you guys.
Oh yeah, there really is something that's very, I don't want to sound jingoistic about it, but there's something that's very American about it. It's like, you got this idea and you take it and you make it your own and you put it out in the marketplace of ideas, and people respond to it or they don't, but they can appreciate that it's like, hey, this is your own thing. Mm-hmm. And it's not quite like anything else. Also, I always like to hear about other comics creators and what their backgrounds are, so that maybe one day when we meet, we can fight.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Some kind of comic book writers fight club that we, of course, can't talk about if it actually exists.
Yeah, and it's like whap, bam, pow, and then they're spilling blood all over the place, and
fantastic idea. Have like Frank Miller versus anybody, because I'm still mad at him for the last couple things he did.
Right. Actually, I mean, yeah, I should watch my mouth, because I bet if I ever did meet Frank Miller, I would just be like, hello, and he'd start punching me. I have to think.
One of the nerdiest things I've ever done was Jim Shooter was at RenoCon a few years ago when I was there. And I walk by and I see him out of the corner of my eye, and I say to my wife, "Oh my God, it's Jim Shooter!" And she goes, "Who?" Because of course, what's a girl gonna think, right? So I go, I stand in line for a few minutes. Yeah, exactly. I stand in line for a few minutes. My wife texts me that she's done wherever she was, so I kind of butt in. Mr. Shooter, I have to get going, but I want to thank you for the 1980s. And I shook his hand and I started to walk off. He goes, "What's your name?" I go, "It's really not important." I just kept going. I just fanboyed so hard. I was like, that was just...
I'm the man with no name.
Yep. It just doesn't matter at this point.
Right. I've said what I've wanted to say. Consider me the unknown fanboy, the Tomb of the Unknown fan.
I don't need to draw more attention to myself, sir. Hey, so what was the first work you did? The first comic you actually got published? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I had a short in the Michigan Comics Collective's anthology. I have a short in their first and second anthologies, just like little short stories. But they also published the first sort of like a standalone, first one shot that I did, and actually I've got the second one coming out from them next year, and that's called Wild Bullets.
Okay.
And I'm tremendously proud of this, and it came out last year, and it still sells very well. I was just at a Comic-Con this past weekend, and it sold just as strong as anything else at the table, because it's an idea that clicks with people. They really like it. They get it. The basic setup for it is that the Bullet family of the title, they're all different kinds of dysfunctional pulp adventurers. So the four siblings grew up to become a detective, a mad scientist, a monster hunter, and an archaeologist. And they all don't get along with each other, don't talk to each other, but they're coming to their parents' house for Thanksgiving. And of course there's a murder, as happens at Thanksgiving dinners. And, happy holidays, everybody, right? And they have to solve it. They have to find a way to figure out who's behind it, who's out to get them, and find a way to work with each other. And the cool thing is they each take turns telling the story, and when they do, a different artist takes over in a different style and genre. So you got crime, sci-fi, horror, and adventure, all in this pulp mashup, murder mystery, weird vibe of trying to solve what's going on behind them.
Okay, that sounds amazing. How do I get a copy of that?
Oh, that one, you can pick that up, because the Michigan Comics Collective is basically like an offshoot of Source Point Press. You can get that at their site. It's available. All of these comics that I've been talking about are available digitally through Comixology and Drive-Thru Comics.
Okay.
But you can also order them through SourcePointPress.com, and we'll ship physical copies to anybody's door, around the country, and I guess internationally if they tack on international fees or whatever.
If
I'm not
pay
sure
for it, yeah.
Yeah, if they pay for it, right? And the cool thing is next year, all of the pencils and inks are done for a follow-up to this, which is telling a Christmas story with the same family. Eventually we're going to collect it and call it Homicide for the Holidays. And I love this, and people look at it, they get it, they're like, okay, yeah, this is, it makes sense to them. And you don't have to love pulp or any of those particular genres to enjoy the interplay between these weird characters. But yeah, two brothers and two sisters, and the parents are also sort of embodied pulp genres. The dad is a military man telling war stories, and the mom is a masked cowgirl for some reason.
See, this is all amazing stuff, because I love the idea that you get a Doc Savage, the Lone Ranger, Flash Gordon, all these types of characters, all from the same family. It kind of sounds like, what was that called?
The Wold-Newton family.
That's it, the Wold-Newton family. Yes, that's it exactly. I have always loved that idea.
Yeah, I think that, like Monstrous, the fun of it is that you got this shared universe where you can just get all the toys out of the toy box and play, Oh, yeah. It doesn't need to be all segregated and everything like that. And that was also the fun with Holliston, too, where it's just like, hey, here's these really cool, really well-defined characters that kind of riff on all of these other horror movies and sci-fi stuff, John Carpenter and everything. And let's just take them and free them from any of the restrictions that you might normally have with, like you mentioned, budget stuff. So it can be this weird and wild and visual ride.
Yeah, How did you find Holliston originally? Do you remember?
No, I feel like it was always sort of Actually, Steve, the artist on Holliston, he has been a super fan for a long time, and he kind of got me into it, with talking about it, and Gary Sobek and Josh Sobek, the guys who originally, they came up with the idea that got pitched to Adam Green, and they're super fans as well. And it's the same kind of thing where it's like, here's, your buddy that you just kind of chat with and you talk about, these horror movies, that sci-fi, that kind of thing. And it's sort of like, and here's like this public secret. And then once you're on the wavelength with Adam Green, you're just like, all right, just sign me up. Just, whatever he's got next, I'm there. Yep. I'm on board, right?
He is kind of a cultish. He and Joe are both kind of cultish in there. Like, once you're hooked, you're hooked.
Yeah. And I'm just down for, what do you guys got going on? And who also, like, who do you know and what are they doing? Because it's kind of like this very interconnected sort of web of like just friends hanging out and doing the cool stuff that they think is cool.
Yep. No, that's what I really like. They really have like a kind of like, hey, we're gonna get this done attitude. This shit's getting made. That's kind of the way they do it.
Yeah, and then just here's that Galligan, or here's Sid Haig, and here's Bill Moseley as Crazy Max and stuff like that. Where it's like, oh wow, I don't know how many episodes I got in before I realized that Bill Moseley was playing Crazy Max. I'm just like, oh, it's just a funny guy, advertising stuff, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, no, he's from Devil's Rejects and Chainsaw Massacre 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And it's like, oh, okay. Or just, other things where it's like, oh my gosh, look, there's Brian Posehn as the clerk at the Market Basket.
I'm sorry, I think you mean Market Basket.
Market Basket.
Yeah.
Market Basket. Market Basket.
Market Loud. Oh, I can still do that, and it just cracks me up every time.
Yeah, it brings a smile to my face. Right?
Well, you know what happened to me? I never clicked that David Naughton was the fake werewolf in the American Werewolf in London episode until I met David Naughton, and then I went, shit! I'm like, oh, now I feel really dumb. And then I didn't realize until then that he was the Dr. Pepper guy either.
What do you mean a Dr. Pepper guy?
He did a musical Dr. Pepper commercial in the early '80s, and if you see it, you'll go, oh wait, I remember this commercial.
Oh, I bet. But it's one of those things that's like, or even like Derek Mears being the cop, and it's like,
yes.
Oh yeah, he's Jason Voorhees. I'm like, oh no, he was just like this hilarious cop. Like, I didn't put that together at all. And I was even at a horror convention one time where Kane Hodder was there, and I mean I know who he is, but it's just like when you see him in person, it was just like, oh, here's just this big jockey, beefed up looking dude. And like I saw him in the hallway, and I was just shooting the shit with him and everything, and it's just like, whoops, yeah, you're famous, and I'm a big fan of your work, and I didn't even put that together. Where he was, we're just like making little jokes and stuff in the hallway.
Yeah. Well, that's still, I've only been doing this for a little while now, and I've only had X number of actual, like what you would call celebrities on, but one time I interviewed somebody live, and then they were sitting at the table with me, kind of like trying to duck just being mobbed by other people. And then I'm looking at her, and I'm just like, holy shit, I've seen you on TV like 500 times, and I can't believe you're sitting here. And then I kind of like got my head back together. I'm like, they're just a human being. Let it go.
Yeah. Well, that's always so funny whenever I meet somebody who has any kind of clout or whatever. And sometimes I get weirdly starstruck. Other times I'm just like, hey, I'm just talking to just this regular person. Hooray! Yeah. Like I met Morgan Spurlock, the guy who did Super Size.
I know who he is.
Yeah, and I met him in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and he was giving a talk, and me and some friends like hung out afterwards, and we just drank beer and ate fried pickles because he'd never had them before. And I'm like, I'm eating fried pickles with the Super Size Me guy.
Exactly.
He was very calm and cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was so cool. And then there's been other times, like I met Kevin Spacey one time, and I just froze. I was like, there's nothing I could say that would interest Kevin Spacey, so I'm not even try. He's like, hi, and I'm like,
The two I really just stepped on myself with Erin Gray when I met Erin Gray was just the first time I took my kids to a convention, and she was at a table. And when I was a kid, I had the biggest crush on her from Buck Rogers. And I walk up to her table and I couldn't spit 2 flipping words out of my mouth. And my wife's like, he wants your autograph. Here's $20. And that was like how that went. So I was emasculated and made to look a fool at the same moment.
Well, that's what makes it a good story.
Exactly. That's what makes it fun in the first place.
If there had been a laundry malfunction, it would have been the perfect trifecta.
Exactly. Or poop somehow being involved might have helped. I don't know for sure.
I guess that was maybe when I say laundry malfunction, that's the only type I know.
Oh, okay. See, I can think of other ones, but, blood, stuff like that. But,
Right.
Anyhow.
Bile?
Having had a dog with severe stomach troubles, I do laundry a lot.
Oh, man. Poor puppy.
Chicken allergies. He's 15. He's had chicken allergies since he was 6 months old. And it just fires out of him like a rocket from both ends.
My in-laws had a sick dog, and in order to, they actually had to give it chicken. So the dog got chicken and potatoes, like boiled chicken and potatoes every day for every meal. I'm like, this dog eats better than I do.
Oh, yeah. No, and see, my wife cooked for this dog for years up until, like, high-end dog food started coming down in price to be reasonable. I mean, they're still, $8 a day or some ungodly amount, but, I mean, this dog right now, if you do the dog years on, he's like 114.
Oh my gosh.
We've had three other dogs that were born after him who died of old age. Yeah.
This is a legacy dog, right?
Exactly. Here's the really weird one. I know we're really off topic now, but his mom is still alive.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yes, my dad owns her. She's blind and deaf and only has 1 tooth left, but she's 17 or 18 years old and still kicking.
I think at that point it's just like, the dog is just like, I don't know how to die.
Just out of spite alone, they stay alive.
Right.
Like that really old angry woman in a wheelchair at Denny's. Yeah.
The Mayan prophecy was about me.
Exactly. So what are you working on these days? Anything in particular you want to tell us about?
Well, we're in talks about maybe making a follow-up Holliston graphic novel, maybe another one.
Oh, awesome.
That's a possibility. And, but again, I'm always like, do that with a grain of salt, because it's like, nothing is a thing until it's a thing. And I've got, Wild Bullets, the follow-up coming up with that. I got more Monstrous on the way. And also I have another project that I'm working on with Eric Reichenbach. He is, I didn't even do a shout out with Wild Bullets. Wild Bullets, my collaborators on that are, Sarah Souls, who did the colors and letters. And my pencils and inkers for that are Sean Seal, Steve Shar, I worked with him on that again, and Jason Jimenez and Joe Frere. I didn't want to leave them out. But with this next project that I got with Eric Reichenbach, I don't know if that name rings a bell. He's been on Survivor a couple times. He's been a contestant on Survivor. And I'm not saying that just to like name drop, but it has to do with the project, because the comic is called Last Monster Standing. And in it, giant monsters invade Tokyo, and then they get their own reality show.
Okay, that also is an amazing idea. You, sir, are an inspired genius.
Thank you. You're too kind. I'm not saying stop, but you're too kind.
Oh, no, I follow you completely. Actually, all of your books that you have described, I am totally interested in now. I'm glad we've got a chance to talk about them, because awesome. Now I get to add them to my reading list that I'm having a harder and harder time getting through.
Oh, I know how that goes.
Yeah.
I know how that goes.
Well, it's kind of exciting, and we'll see how things change coming up here, but the economy was starting to click along again, and people had some spending money, and comics had their best year last year, the best they'd had since 1997.
Which also is one of those things that makes me lose sleep, because then it's like, well, when does the bubble burst, and all of that kind of thing. But I love going to these Comic Cons and getting to meet people, and I try to be friendly and meet, and it's really exciting that there are so many people who, you explain to them, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they're like, wow, this is on my wavelength. It's different from other stuff, but it's enough like it that it's like, yeah, you're talking about my favorite things, like giant Japanese monster movies, or pulp stuff, or whatever. There's this kind of niche that you can't quite get anywhere else. Like, there's not a whole like pulp TV show or a movie that's doing these kinds of weird off the wall things.
No, I'm actually really encouraged, because I've met some kids around here, And kids, 35-year-olds probably, but
whippersnappers, they're getting on lawn.
Exactly. Under 40, everybody's a kid now. I'm damn kids. But I'll meet these guys and they'll turn out a 30-page book in full color. It's expensive, but they don't have to buy an inventory up front. They just, hey, I'm getting ready to do a show. I'll buy 30 of them. Or if you want to buy them online, they're $8, 30 pages, but it's their book. It's out. You can get it. 10 years ago, that wasn't even a possibility.
Yeah. Like people ask me, like how do I make a comic? I'm like, you just make it. Like you just do it, and then it's a thing. And that doesn't mean it's going to be wildly successful, but make a thing and keep doing it.
Yeah, that's just it. And there's a video that's been making the rounds that I try to repost every other week or so, but it's just finish it. And it's no matter how shitty it is, look, no matter what in a year, you're going to look at everything you do and you're not going to like it because it was only as good as you were a year ago. So, right. So the job is don't shoot for perfect, shoot for finished, and then move on to the next one.
And I think that's very much the case because I've known people where they tinker with it and they obsess over it and I get that instinct. I do. But
absolutely.
Anything that's worth doing is worth doing faster if you can.
Yep.
Like I said, going to a Comic-Con, it's cool to have more stuff at the table. It's cool to hey. I love wild books and I love talking to people about it. But if I pitch it and somebody's like, no, that's not really my thing, I'm like, well, take a look at this other thing and maybe that is.
I got other stuff.
You never know what's going to click with somebody. And that's why I love talking about Holliston, because, like you said, there's a built-in fan base. People who are Holliston people are like, I'm on it, I'm there, I'm done, you got me. But then people who haven't, it's like, here's a cool way to get somebody involved in a new kind of fandom that probably if you're already a fan of anything like horror or horror comedy, like if you love things like Shaun of the Dead or Zombieland and stuff like that, Dale and Tucker versus Evil. I mean, if you like those kinds of things, this is on your wavelength, and you don't know that you love it. You just have to discover this, and you're like, oh man, this is like made for me and my friends. This is the kind of stuff. This is how we talk with each other.
Yep. What it was for me was I watch a lot of weird shit, but I run out of it real quickly. And one weekend I had the flu, and I'm going through Netflix just looking for something, anything to watch. And there's a little show called Todd and the Book of Pure Evil. And I burnt through the show, in that sick weekend. I went through every episode of it. So I went on Amazon the next day or the next Monday, and I bought both discs. And it says at the bottom, if you like this, you'll also like Holliston. All right. So I bought both seasons of that as well, And then the funny thing, of course, was that when they arrived, I realized they were on Hulu anyways. But,
I don't think that they are anymore.
They made, neither one are available on streaming. Neither Todd nor Holliston are right now. But yeah, it was kind of nice to find something like that. These little, who's it that's picked up Holliston? Geek Nation?
Yes, Geek Nation. Yeah.
Okay, this thing couldn't even have existed as far back as 2006. Just technically could not have happened. Now it can. And this little gem, this little thing that nobody probably thought anybody would watch, there's the ability to put it back on the air. And that to me is just fantastic that we live in a day and age like that.
Yeah, and I think it's great to be able to, like you're saying, get these these niche projects that could never have existed before. And like, here's this new and exciting and fun kind of cool way that stuff can get out there, right? And I love that. I mean, like you talk about a TV show. It's like, unless I'm deadly sick, how do I catch up with anything? Because there's so much really, really, really great stuff out there with books and movies and TV shows, and they just keep making more of them.
Oh yeah, that's one of the problems. Like I said, I'm literally having trouble keeping up with the things I want to keep up with. And what's kind of cool is I'm getting a little bit of traction on Twitter now. So filmmakers follow me and then tell me about their stuff or send me screeners. Well, I got, unfortunately, a little drawer full. I don't want it to sound like I'm complaining. I'm not. I mean, if you're out there and you're thinking about sending me your screener, I will get to it. And if it looks great, I'll get to it sooner. But I do fall behind. It sucks because I'm always like, I really want to see all of these, and I know that it's not going to happen. They can't all happen right now.
Yeah. And I mean like that for mainstream stuff too. I've found that for some reason, like, I don't watch The Walking Dead when I'm healthy, like you mentioned your flu weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just because it's a zombie apocalypse or whatever, but I seem to only catch that when I only stop to watch it when I'm like really, really, really sick and hating the entire world and not really caring if it burns.
Yeah.
So that's when I watch it, and I've just been too healthy to keep current on it.
Let me tell you right now, don't watch this season until you feel like watching a whole bunch of people constantly castrated and humiliated over and over again for your amusement.
Well, you know, I feel like that's kind of just hanging out with friends with me.
Well, there you go. You might be able to sit through this better, because my wife literally looked at me last night and she goes, "If this whole fucking season's like this, I'm calling it quits." And I'm like, this is the lady who's stuck in through everything, and she's like, now just the punishment of the main characters has gotten to her. I was like, wow.
Yeah. No, I get that. I really do. There's something online. I don't remember which publication did this, but they had a Walking Dead Quitters Club, and they're like, oh, we gotta quit it. And each episode they would be like, what's the percentage of likelihood of quitting after this episode? But honestly, I've seen enough clips and I've been reading up, and I'm current. I know what's happening.
Yeah. Well, you're a comic guy. You probably had some sense of where it was going anyway.
Oh yeah. I'm current on the comics, but not on the TV show. And so and already in the comics, we're starting to see, and this is my prediction, and you can take it to the bank, Geekish Cast listeners, that I think that eventually Negan is going to become part of the regular cast and part of the quote-unquote gang. I know that sounds weird after he's just done all this horrible stuff, but I think he's just too big of a character and too interesting for people to want to give up on him. And so I think we're going to see him like Venom or one of those other characters where it's or the Punisher, where it's like, oh, he's a bad guy, but this is just too fascinating for everybody to want to leave him on the sidelines or have him killed off.
Anti-hero him out a bit.
Yeah.
I could consider that as a very real likelihood.
I mean, because at this point, all the other characters, the regular characters, they're all so just miserable all the time, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're hard to watch because of some of that.
He's bashing people's heads, but he's having fun, you know. Well, at least he likes what he does.
What do they call him? Affably evil, I believe is the term for somebody like that.
Yeah.
So is there a property or a style of book, either, I don't know if it's a character or a genre, that you haven't tackled yet that you're really looking forward to or really want to do before you throw away your pen?
Boy, I don't know. There's all kinds of, I have ideas for superhero stuff, like some of your kinds of traditional kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I would really like to get into that, but it's really hard to get into superhero stuff without it becoming sort of just cheesy, unless you're actually writing for the characters.
Well, I was going to say, and does anybody really want to see an original superhero character? I don't know that market exists either.
Oh yeah, no, not in the indie market, and but I feel like I've got a fresh enough twist on this. This is actually one of the first things that I wrote, and I'm still holding by that eventually this will come to fruition. It was a story that I wrote about a freelance henchman who kept his identity, his job secret from his family, but then a bunch of supervillain hirelings came to kill him one day, and so he's got to figure out who's behind the hit, and he's got to dodge the cops, he's got to dodge the supervillains and the superheroes, and figure out who put the bounty on his head of him and his family, and but making all these references to all the classic fanboy culture stuff. And he comes from a family of supervillains, but he tried to get out of the family business and got pulled back in. So there's a whole legacy of Golden Age and Silver Age stuff dating back to his grandfather, of them being Mr. Freeze style supervillains, right? And I feel like that's maybe a way into the world that you don't need to necessarily have. Oh, here's another teenage superhero who discovers superpowers, and it's kind of like going through puberty and blah blah.
There's one that hasn't been done before, or they have to hide it, so it's kind of like them being gay, because that's never been done before either.
Right, yeah.
And that's the whole. This whole season of Supergirl is that story.
Oh man, yeah.
And don't get, I'm not saying that as a negative. I mean, I love it, but guys, we need some new allegories for superheroes.
Right. Or just something else that's kind of interesting going on.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that, I mean, and I'll admit, I'm a full-on fanboy. I mean, I'm literally sitting in my basement right now, and there's a bunch of superhero stuff around here. So I mean, I love superheroes, but part of me is like, could we take them and do something different, dramatic, interesting in a new light? Like at these Comic-Cons, people come up and I'll be like, what kinds of stories do you like? Or what kinds of, comics do you read or whatever? And then they just say like, Marvel, DC, and I'm like, those are technically not genres, but,
Yeah.
And I get it. I read Marvel and DC, sure, but I really like when there's somebody who's open-minded enough to be like, well, I'm going to take a chance on this, and even though I might like superheroes, maybe I can give it a whirl, because to me, the monster characters that I've got in these comics are sort of the ultimate superheroes, because I feel like that's something that your average comic fan can relate to, if that makes sense. Here's your outsider that has something special and unique about them that people view in a negative way, that can actually be an asset to them. Whereas, I mean, who are superheroes? Superheroes are really all sort of like your jocks and your models and your cheerleader types. Whereas I feel like monsters probably, again, stereotyping, but if you're talking about your average comic book reader, who's like a lifelong fan, it tends to be people who would identify maybe more with the monster than with, your Superman type characters.
No, I think you're onto something there. Greg, not that I'm up against an actual clock or anything, but I'm kind of running long on time today. But let me put this out there. When there's something that comes up, I would like to be able to invite you back on, or if you got something coming up, I'd like you to ask to come back on so we can do this again. I'm having a hell of a time talking to you.
Absolutely, and forgive me for being chatty. I go off.
No, it's quite all right. My favorite guests are all people that can do that. It's something I enjoy, and like I said, I try not to do a show where it's just me yakking at somebody for an hour, because it works better that way.
Listen to me yak instead.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Where can people find you and your work on the interwebs if they want to check out more?
Oh, yes. So like I said, you can get the books at sourcepointpress.com. I'm on Twitter with my handle is @GregHenchman, and my name comes up, my regular name, Greg Wright. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Greg Wright Comic Books. And, I love hearing from people. I love seeing people checking out my work. If people post photos, I'll retweet them, I'll repost them, I'll like them, share them, all that kind of stuff. That's the basic ways that people can get in touch with me, is through Facebook and Twitter, and, shoot me an email, whatever. I love hearing from people, and I go to a lot of cons. I go to cons throughout the year, so I try to post about that on Twitter and Facebook as well, and I'd love for people to stop by, say hi, and check out what we're doing here.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to Geekish Cast. Greg, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. In the meantime, you can catch us at geekishcast.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/geekishcast. I tweet from @thegeekishcast. And apparently I drunkenly signed up for Instagram the other night at the same handle, @thegeekishcast. And right now we're going to listen to the band Reign of Zeus play us out. Good night, everybody. Geekish Cast is a V as in Victor production and is part of the Astro Panda Productions Network. You can find us now on SoundCloud and on Blog Talk Radio. Our theme music is taken from the song Out to Get Mine by Reign of Zeus. Check them out at reignofzeus.net.